Hey, it's Joe Glines, another episode of What We Automated this week with AutoHotkey. This was sort of a light week because of Thanksgiving. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving if you're here in the States. Let's jump into what we got. And we're going to start off here at the top. More client work, starting off with Biofeedback. So Biofeedback, these scripts here. So they were hosting their site on Squarespace, which was costing them a fair amount, but it wasn't really about the money. It was also their licensing for the script that they had written for their executable that they licensed to people. It was very manual on getting people to pay for it and giving them the license, and very tedious. And so we have a WordPress plugin we use, Easy Digital Downloads, and our script object that we use on the Automator is built to work really well with it. So we, after we were doing something else, and we said, hey, why don't we go ahead and just convert the whole site to WordPress, because then we can handle everything. So we migrated their website, so we're now hosting it for them. But also, we are adding our script objects to their executable, which will allow it to be easily tracked and have that licensing built in. So their EDD is a great plugin, and it really facilitates getting people. You can either have, like we have the recurring feature with our hero group that's under that, and I don't actually know if we have any software that we sell recurring fees. I don't think we currently do. We talked about it, but we don't. But it's a really great ability to be able to do that and not take a ton of time, because it's done with API calls and the checks are all done. So Grace is another client that works with the Biofeedback group. I'm not sure what we were doing on this one. And then with Jeff, we were doing a little more work with him in the afternoons on his LinkedIn and HubSpot tool, with a lot of other things. We're tracking people. And actually, so Azais and I, we play with is it MCP, our Model Context Protocol, I think, from Anthropic. And yesterday morning, we talked about it in the hero group lightly, but Azais hadn't had a chance to catch up on all the videos, and I watched another one yesterday morning, and before Azais even joined, I asked Irfan, I said, let's see if we can get this thing to work. So we installed MCP, and I was connecting to a local SQLite database and asking Claude questions to the SQLite database. And it was actually writing the SQL and doing the queries and returning the results, and it was crashing several times. And then we tried to add the file explorer so it would look at my files on my computer. And it's really interesting. It's turns out what's going on overall is Claude doesn't have your files, at least sure looks that way. What Claude, we were using the desktop app for Claude. You have to have that installed right now. And there's other ways you can create other servers to do this, but that's what we were doing. And you can use Claude to, in this case with the SQL server, Claude was writing the queries, executing the queries in a local server being run a SQLite server, and then returning the results in Claude, but I don't think the actual Claude had my data. Right, so it's a very, very, very interesting setup, because it can help you keep your data private. Now, we wouldn't be able to do like our OCR tool on that without shoving that info into the cloud, because the compute stuff that was being done was the intelligence wasn't being done locally, if that makes sense. They were using it remotely and then applying it locally for me, and that's how that kind of gets around at loading all your data into the cloud. And what they're doing is they're creating them and other people are creating different servers for different programs. So there was like a server for doing Brave searches, which is like a Google competitor, right? And you can execute them, but again, Claude is writing the queries and writing the API calls from your computer to go execute them, but it's not necessarily seeing the results, right? Or seeing your data. So I think it's very fascinating. It's going to be huge, and we'll continue to work on it. When we have something that we can reliably show, we'll record a video walking through how we set it up. Let's see here. Where was I? Looks like Thomas was doing a little more stuff with his apps. Azais' brother. So, Azais' brother works at a bank, and apparently he had something that every day it took him an hour to do. And Azais wrote him a script that, and there is still a manual part, and maybe we'll figure that out. But right now, instead of taking an hour, it takes him 5 minutes. So every day now, usually like 5 days a week, he saves an hour each day. It's down to 55 minutes if you want to be technical. But his brother was just blown away, and that's why I said it was like it's easy to not understand fully what we do, and the things that we do so often are repetitive, and being able to automate the process, not the intelligence parts. That's where AI fits in really well, and we didn't reach that. We were going to talk about that in the hero group. I have an image talking about the difference between where you should be using AutoHotkey and where you should use AI, right? Because it's, for a lot of people, it's not always clear, and it's you have to understand the data you're connecting to and what you can do with it, and that kind of helps you understand when you should write a program to take care of it versus use AI to do it. Now, AI will have the ability to do a lot of what AutoHotkey does, maybe not as well at first, but later on it will be. But the reverse doesn't work so well. AutoHotkey, you need to supply like the logic and reason and put together the program to automate it, and then it will execute reliable and fast, right? The other thing is also because AI hallucinates. With AutoHotkey, you pretty much know what you're doing, what you're asking it to do, and so you get those results consistently, whereas AI, we're not so sure, right? So let me keep going here. So Danny is another, like I said, radiologist. We do a lot of work for him, and we've been incorporating more AI stuff with what he's doing. Now, we're not passing sensitive data to Claude and that, but even then, we might take this MCP approach at some point just to not have to worry about it at all, right? Most of the stuff that we're doing, it's not privileged, it doesn't have patient name or any way to identify the person, so that's irrelevant. But a radiologist reached out to me to ask to talk to Danny, and if you're watching, I sent it to him, and he said he's going to reach out to you. But we do have, like, I think eight or 10, somewhere in there, radiologists we've worked with. We've helped a lot of radiologists do a lot of different things. What's interesting is they all seem to work differently, and so each of them we use just a little bit different of an approach to helping them. For one, Cameron's another radiologist, and we helped him automate hundreds, if not thousands, of actions from his Stream Deck to connect to AutoHotkey. Now, normally, when you do that, often what people do is they create, in Stream Deck, they'll say, send this hotkey, and then in AutoHotkey, they'll watch for the hotkey and then execute it, because it's just easier to program in AutoHotkey than it is in the Stream Deck native language. Much easier, you can get a lot more done and stuff. But at the time, he was creating a hotkey for each thing and running out of hotkeys. What we showed him how to do, and we're actually doing the code, I think, but we figured it out, as I figured it out, was how to have one script, and it sits here, and it can take parameters that you pass to it. So in Stream Deck, you have different buttons you can press. Those all connect to the same AutoHotkey script, but it's passing a different parameter or parameters if you want. And the script itself will act differently. Now, this is one of the first times we were laughing with Cameron, because we've been at this for, well, let's put it this way. I've been using AutoHotkey probably roughly 15 years, and I have one, maybe two other instances where we turn off single instance force, right? It's so rare. Really kind of bugged me that Lexicos didn't make that the norm, and that you would turn it off instead of on, because I can't, I know of 2 times where I've done this. It's ludicrous, straight off the top of my head, where I've turned off single instance force. Why isn't that the default? I don't know. So anyway, in this one, you have your script sitting there, and when the person presses the button, we want to have multiple instances of it possibly get executed, right? So that's why we're turning it off. And that it's kind of like a server almost sitting there waiting for you to do something. Anyway, so that was with Cameron. We're doing some stuff there. And we're using ADO and SQLite. Sorry, this is just ADO with SQL. And so with ADO, it's been around since before even XP, right? Every Windows computer has ADO, the Active Data Object, in it that you can connect to and run SQL queries on local text files and do almost whatever you want. The only thing you can't really do is save it as a database, but you can connect tables with SQL. You can do amazing stuff with it. We do have a 1 or 2 videos on it, but it's really, really powerful. Now, Isaiah's had some problems with the tab limited file, and I think we finally got that figured out. When I was doing that, I had to revert back to my version 1 code, because all my examples of ADO are in version 1, and I just forgot how painful version 1 is compared to version 2 of AutoHotkey. We finally got him set up to use tabbed limited data, and we'll have to make a video updating that, because it was a little more complicated than I remembered. Some more work with biofeedback. And we automated this approach that's going to be really cool. They're going to release it in not my client's software, but the person that sells the devices. And it simplifies the entire process of this one test. And it's really going to be an intro to automation. But they're going to be, I think, giving it away just as a way to help people. But it'll be a great lead magnet as well. So that was that one. Irfin's been doing a really great job on that of streamlining it. This program to automate is, I'm glad we know 20 ways to automate programs with AutoHotkey, because it takes quite a few to do it properly. We did some work for Josh. Josh does, I think, like day trading, and Isaiah was nailing down different API calls that allow him to get his data and rip it very, very quickly and save it to an Excel file. And that was another one which we need to circle back with Rizwan, because I don't think we've shared it as a download yet, but we have a tool that can use the Refadium library, but you don't have to have all of Refadium and grab your cookies from a given browser interaction. And that way you use your browser to authenticate, what you're doing, and then you borrow your cookie from your browser and use it in your API calls. And that way you can kind of imitate an API call, imitate a browser doing API calls. And when some companies don't give you an API to use publicly, we can fake that and pretend like we're a browser still doing things manually, but of course we're automating it. All right, let's keep going. This MP3, Clipster. So we did a couple of videos and AI. Oh, this one, I can't wait to release this one. It's on the Automator, it's just not ready to release, but we're using AI, and I would demonstrate it, but right now my internet's down, so I'm recording this with OBS instead of Zoom. Anyway, this AI error assist, it allows you to interact. We use the API call because typically most AI tools cost you like $20 a month if you sign up for their program and you interact with their chat and you're on a paid subscription, right? And they do give you other benefits for that. But they also have API approaches that you can do separately. So you don't have, if you have a token for a given API, you don't have to pay the $20 a month. And with our AI OCR tool, which is phenomenal, and that's getting a lot of great reviews. But we have other tools too, but you don't have to have the $20 a month plan, right? So you pay as you go for these tokens. And honestly, the token limit, you could do so many API calls, it's crazy. You'll never hit that $20 limit, or it'd be really hard to, because you can really use a crazy amount of it. And this error assist, what it does is when you're developing an AutoHotkey, if it's running, you can interact with the chat and ask it more questions, but also if you have an error for AutoHotkey that pops up, it will say, do you want AI assistance for you? You can hit yes. If you hit yes, it takes the error that you had, it takes the file that was connected to and sends it all to AI and says, hey, identify this problem. And we also provide a prompt where we ask you questions like, first, your skill level. So when it gives you a response, it's more tailored to your skill level, right? So that one it's a huge time saver. I can't wait to release that one. Irfan, he's just testing it right now. It's on, like I said, you can see it, but you can't buy it. But it's a really, really cool tool. Clipster, that was one where we were it's a V2 script where you can have hotkeys and hot strings to trigger pasting pictures in HTML. Yeah. So you can use a hot string, because if you write a hot string, you can't dump in like a hyperlinked picture, something, or send a picture. That's what Clipster helps with. So it makes it very easy to deal with. This MP3 Ripper, I used that the other day. It was really cool because I was downloading some stuff from Notebook LM. They only make the files as WAV files. Now this says MP3 Ripper, but truly it will convert any video or audio file to MP3 and allow you to change the bitness, the compression rate, right? Super crazy, insane fast. It's really weird how fast it is, but it's a very, very cool tool. I'm going to make a different version of this for Dylan, one of our friends and client. He of course, because he works with audios a lot, and so for him, he would want different formats available, but we hard-coded this one to just be MP3, but you could take almost any video or audio file and have it convert it to MP3 for you, which is just amazing. This next Shelly one, this is so cool, and maybe I'll click on it here. I have a different example somewhere, but these switches, I have my coffee maker, and here you can see my monitors, my computer light, recording light, and coffee, and I thought of something, oh yeah, I have a little heater underneath here. I have them set up where I have them connected to my Stream Deck, but I also have hotkeys on my computer that I can hit them and instantly, crazy fast instantly, they do API calls going to the IP addresses. These are all local IP addresses, which is why I don't mind sharing them. But it's super crazy fast. I also have it connected to my Alexa, so I can tell Alexa to turn it on and off, or I can also put it in my routines and schedule them. But I also have them built where I can hit a hotkey, but the next step is to say, okay, like actually the hero, we have a hero reminder that goes out and reminds people an hour before the hero calls, I think 30 minutes and 15 minutes or 5 minutes before. And I told Urfian, okay, on that last one, the 5 minutes before, turn on my recording light so my wife knows not to come in here and I don't have to remember to do it, right? So we're going to have triggers, programmatic triggers tied to what I'm doing on the computer or the software or whatever. Like let's say Zoom's on, and if Zoom's on and I'm recording, turn on my record light so I don't have to remember to turn it on, right? So I have some really cool stuff. Each of these, so here's an example where and I just broke it down separately. And here we have it with this is the toggle, or I can turn it on or off, right? So I would just change, these are different function calls passing different parameters. And we'll release this with the Shelly code. If you have the version, I'll give you the pretty link to the Shelly hot plugs, smart plugs that I bought. But it should work very reliably once you go, and it's so fast, it's really, really cool. So let's see, what else are we on here? It looks like there's some more CJSON. Someone looks like someone was downloading a new version of CJSON maybe from, I'm sure that's Geek Dudes. Our preferences. Power plan, Rizwan's been working on this power plan thing. It's pretty cool. Let me see if I can launch it. Oh, there we go. So you can choose between your power plans and assign it a hotkey, which is cool. Or I can say, oh, I actually want to edit my balanced power plan. And here it's going to read in and tell you what it is, and you can change it and apply it. But the real benefit is I might assign one to balance, and I might change one to power. Oh, yeah, well, as I said, we're not done yet. But you can assign different hotkeys to different power plans. And then with a hotkey, just switch between them, right? Which is going to be really, really cool. We will use that because we're not on laptops, and I almost never change my power plan. But what we realized was if you share your scripts with other people and you have a kick-butt computer, you really need to adjust your CPU and other stuff so it imitates a poor computer's, because sometimes things just don't work properly on other people's computers, right? If they don't have as good of a system as you have, especially if you have a lot of sleeps. Now, we try to avoid sleeps because we take, like I mentioned, we have 20 ways to automate programs with AutoHotkey. 2 of them is like sending mouse clicks and sending keystrokes, right? Where you're imitating a human. 18 of them, now I don't know if they're all, I'd have to think about it, but they're not all API approaches, but they're all close to API approaches. And they're much better, much more accurate. So we rarely use sleeps, but sometimes we have to. Like that previous I mentioned earlier for Biofeedback, their tool, there's some image search and actually sending of mouse clicks. We do what we have to do to get the job done, right? And that's where, with one of our clients that's doing that, when he sends that out to other people and they have older systems, that sleep is really problematic. And that's where, I don't know if it's actually in this list, it should be, but I don't see it. No, oh, dynamic sleep, there it is. I skipped it, sorry, my bad. This one, we released a video, we made a video on it, and Isaias apparently updated this function. It's a really cool little script. So the sleep looks at your resources available on your computer, does a quick test, and then will dynamically adjust the sleep based on how fast your computer's running. So it will really, really help where you have things where I run this on one computer and it's really fast and another computer's really slow. That dynamic sleep is really going to help take care of the just saying, because the other thing, if you don't have this approach, you have to say, well, I don't know what computer's running this. It's probably, the slowest one out there takes a 3-second sleep. So I'm going to have to make everybody have a 3-second sleep because I don't know how to adjust it based on their computer. Well, this dynamic sleep is going to help with that, because then you can set it to, let's say, a minimum of 1 and a max of 3, but it will adjust based on your computer performance. So a faster computer, it'll just have 1, and a slower computer, it'll have the 3, right? So it's very, very cool. This is the general concept, really cool. And so let's see here. Rizwan's been working on that. And Ultimate Spy, I didn't know we made any update. Oh, actually, I think Connie reported an error in Ultimate Spy, and we updated that. And the same thing, since the Discovery tool has the Ultimate Spy, or vice versa, sorry. Discovery tool is in the Ultimate Spy. That got updated in both. Our Automator Discovery tool, which is one, boy, I just can't live without this tool. It's really, really cool. What? Oh, that's that same, that's weird. That should not have been there. Sorry, my bad. I thought that was our Automator Discovery, our Automator Spy. Anyway, the user finished typing. This is another one. We released a video on this, on how to detect when a user is finished typing. So watch for that video if you haven't seen it yet. It's very cool to be able to, like, if you want to trigger a search after someone types, right? So it's something you can use for that. And we were working on one. Every time we share the screen, Zoom puts a toolbar on that monitor, and it's always in the way for people. So I said, why don't we watch for this, toolbar to be created using a shell hook so it's really fast. And the second it appears here, move it out of the way. So then we realized we actually had another Zoom tool which you could put the Zoom windows in different places and hit a hotkey to save that. And then we could have another hotkey that would go find those windows and move them back to where you had set it. So this one is going to be one that you would always have running and have it just move it out of the way. And the other one, you could have it running and then decide when to hit the hotkey. But this one is just about that Zoom toolbar, the one that's really problematic in it. Maybe we'll build the other one because for some reason Zoom also puts another window in front of the one you're trying to share. It's really dumb. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Please like the video if you learned something. And don't forget, our courses do come with a 200% money back guarantee, as my left shoulder, here we go, is telling you. And I hope you had a great day. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And we'll hope to see you soon. Cheers.